Is that for me? Um. Okay. Where is that? Um. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out. I was gonna try and bring up the green screen, but it doesn't seem to be working right now. I don't know why. Oh, maybe because I'm on. That's probably why. I'm not on my regular phone. I'm on my old Huawei phone, my P20, and I think it's on an older version of YouTube where I can't actually put up the green screen. So we'll just have to do it this way. It's all good. But how's it going, everybody? Um, but I didn't want to talk about something though. Is so I kind of mentioned it in a short earlier. My mental health has taken a dive lately, and I've just lacked all motivation to work on the cars. Absolutely. I've lacked motivation to do many things. I haven't been replying to as many messages and stuff like that. And I haven't been posting as much content. I haven't been filming as much content. Like even though yes, I have technically a bunch of stuff filmed right now, but the problem is that I still need to finish that video and finish the install, and I just lack the motivation right now for it, which is the floor pans in my truck. And honestly, I can get them installed within, I don't know, maybe an hour at this point. And then I just need to put the bench seat back in place, and then I can actually like showcase it off properly. But I'm just hating this. I hate how I'm feeling. And I don't want to feel like this. I really don't. But this is where I'm at. And the thing is, my sort of like depression and whatever else, I don't have to have thoughts in my head for it to actually come along. I don't get triggers like most people with depression do. Mine gets triggered just randomly because I actually have bipolar depression. So, and this is just a big funk of it. It's not unusual when it starts to get a little cooler out and the season change that I start to feel like this. More for at least a few days. And what sucks though with this is that with this, I probably am not going to get a YouTube payment next month, which I kind of rely on for a little bit of extra income. So that really sucks, but uh, I don't know. We'll see. That's just kind of where I'm at, right? And I still have to get the head checked out that I pulled off the other motor to make sure it's all good to go. Um, and no, I can't actually play copyrighted music. This is YouTube. I will get uh, a copyright strike if I do. So technically, I'm listening to music through here, but I can't have you guys listen to this. Because if I do, like I said, that's a copyright strike, and you don't want those on your channel. It's really bad, and enough. If you have enough of them, your channel will actually be taken down by YouTube. So I'd rather not risk that. But also thank you, Leo. I appreciate the comment. Um, I'm just, yeah, Again, I can't do any copyrighted music, dude. What do you not understand about this? I can't do it. If I do, like I said, there will be. I can have issues with a copyright strike, and I don't want to have to deal with that at all. So, uh, no, dude. I already told you I'm not playing that. Like, ugh, whatever. Anyways, yeah. So like right now, I'm doing the floor pans in the truck. Um, and the unfortunate part is like I lost the nut to my grinder. So I can like put my cutting discs on, because right now it just has a wire wheel attachment on it. So I've been modifying the floor pan with um um like, and the problem is trying to do that is not fun with Salzal. It's really not. So that's one of the other reasons why I haven't had the motivation to finish this. So I don't know. Yeah, I did actually. Those are stock forged rods. Which everything 1973 and back for the Ford Falcon 6s, which is your 200, your 250, your 144, 170, and 200, will all have forged connecting rods. So that's was a nice little surprise that I found out. And luckily, like the rod caps, they're actually marked, the same as the rods themselves are marked. So I don't have to worry about it. Making sure they stay together that way, because they're marked out of the factory. So that was pretty cool. And if you're wondering what I'm listening to right now, it's some device. If you don't know device, it was actually a power band that David Draymond made after he had his issues with his voice back in 2019, 2020 or so. Something like that. So yeah, and most people forgot about this band because they only had one album, that's it. Well, the thing is, I don't know if I'll end up using them, but I have them, right? Like, if I plan on putting boost to my engine, I will. But I don't know if I plan on actually doing boost at this point because of the tri-power setup. I just don't know. Because, like, boost referencing three carburetors does not sound fun at all. You know, like, that's a lot of work. And then also, I gotta figure out what carbs I'm actually gonna use, because you have to have them synced, right, that way. And I am not giving you a tour of my house. It's a fucking trailer. I don't know why you care. Like, genuinely. It's just a little trailer, man. Um, but, you know. So yeah, like, and I might end up utilizing them, like I said, but I don't know. I have them around in case I want to. And, yeah. Um, and why do you want to see my house? Again, it's a little trailer. It's not like I have this big, fantastic house that is really cool or anything. It's just a $25,000 trailer, man. Yeah, I want to use that tri-power setup. I really do. Um, but like, and because not that I plan on trying to make anywhere near 500 horsepower. Like, I only want to make about 250 to 300 when I'm done with it, honestly. Um, I'm giving T-Mobile salesman vibes. Well, your name is Troll Patrol. Just putting that out there, dude. Like, and no, I don't. I don't work in customer service at all. Found out I was wrong today. Too weak to continue. Good old Disturbed. And I am very interested in the games. Like, I don't imagine them being like gigantic games, but I think when I run this head on Stitch, it'll probably give me about 30 wheel horsepower is my guess. Um, and around 50-ish foot-pounds of torque. That's my rough estimate. Now, the best part is I run a dyno, so we'll figure it out, right, when I actually get that all done. Um, and then the fun part is, like, again, like, trying to figure out what carbs I'm going to use and stuff like that. Yeah, oh, exactly, right? Like, but like I said, I don't know if I'm going to do the turbo because, like I said, boost referencing three carburetors sounds like an absolute freaking nightmare. Especially with a lot of these carburetors that are one barrels, you can't get the proper parts to convert them into blow-through carburetors. Not only that, but then you have to make sure that boost referencing all three of the carburetors, that it's the same amount of boost being put into all three, which is almost impossible without having individual turbos. Like, that's the thing. Um, so as a result, I probably won't end up doing that, and I don't even know what I will do with that turbo in the end. That I have, because as I know you're aware, I've had that turbo from Max Peating Rods for about a year now. Um, and like, I've thought about maybe doing a turbo swap on Mousetrap, which is the truck. I've thought about it. I don't know if I will. Alternatively, I actually had somebody. I did a TikTok live earlier, and I actually had somebody potentially interested in buying the truck, but I I don't think they'll turn into anything. But you never know, right? Like, um, because like if it does, cool. Like I'm not actively trying to sell the truck. It's not really the goal with it. I actually want to like fix it and use the truck for its intended purpose. But if somebody overpays me for the truck, I wouldn't say no. Like that's the thing, right? Um, because like the truck just needs so much work. It needs so much rust repair, and I just don't know if I want to commit that much time and energy into the truck. I'd much rather commit that much time and energy into my car instead, right? And the car is already a massive project as it is, with everything I'm doing with it. Yeah, like, and now you're talking about spending like 4 grand, which I'm not planning on doing that. After all, I don't have that kind of money right now. So, like, because even, like, putting the like, with just, like, a single carburetor in the turbo, I was potentially looking at, in the neighborhood of, like, um, about $1,000 or so that I would have to spend to be able to get the turbo on properly, you know, and that's just with the stock head bolts and stuff like that, too. That's not actually, like, delving deep into the motor. Um, So yeah, it's one of those deals. I like, and at that point, I'd much rather just update the suspension and the tires before like shoving a bunch of boost into the motor. So like, if I had the money, it'd be a different story, and I might even attempt doing full fuel injection on the car with like utilizing like the one barrel sniper EFI or something like that, or even just like regular one barrel throttle bodies, would be pretty interesting to do. And just have three of those instead. And then have a computer that runs that, but, I'm just not sure. And, like, the tricky thing is, um, that's way too much carburation for my motor. Way too much. Um, like, and I have a Holly 500 CFM 2 barrel, right? I have one. But, like I said, I don't even know what I'm going to do with that carburetor. Because I was going to actually put it on stitch potentially for like a one barrel sort of blow through carb setup. But I need to get the intake modified on my stock engine to fit the carburetor properly so it's not mounted sideways. Because Hollies hate being mounted sideways. They despise it. So, it's one of those things. And Hollies are a tricky bitch to tune, too. I don't, at this point, I don't know why I actually used that carburetor. Or, like, bought it, I should say. It's a party in the USA. Um, but yeah, like, I don't know. We'll see. Because, like, my idea, actually, because I'll show you what my idea is. Carter YFAs, right? Off the 306. These are 200 CFM each, so that'd be a total of 600 CFM into the motor, which I think that's more than sufficient, right? And these carburetors are like bulletproof carbs, to be honest. They're one of the better one barrel carbs ever made. Like, I just need to get a couple more of these. So I don't know. We'll see. But then the only thing is, if I ever wanted to do the whole turbo thing with the three carbs, I don't know if they create like, I don't know, as an example, if they make for these um like the parts that you need to make it into a blow through carburetor, as an example. I also don't know what style jets these use. I hope that it's a Holly jet in this carburetor. I hope to God it's a Holly jet. Because trying to rejet carburetors that use the Motorcraft specific jets is stupid. I fucking hate it. Because it's so expensive to actually try and do that. I mean, I could do that. Uh, but like, it's funny that you say, yeah, build cheap brackets. Those wouldn't be cheap. I'd also want it to look good as well, right? Like, um, but that is an idea, to be honest. I have thought about that, but I don't know if I get the CFM I want out of motorcycle carbs, right? Like, I'm not sure. Like I said, with the YFAs, I'd be at 600 CFM. With three, side draft carburetors on a motorcycle, I don't think I'd be anywhere near that. And now that might be too much carburation, to be fair. I don't know. Alternatively, I have a Weber carb, you know, in my shed, but then I need to get two more of those. And like, and that carburetor is tiny. Like, actually, is it in my shed or is it in my front entry? Give me a second. I'll look really quick in my front entry to see if it's there or if it's in my shed. Because I can't remember. It might be in my shed, though. Um, well, I mean, I can bring these. See, now, alternatively, something I've thought of is I'd need to get more adapters made. See if I know any machinist people that would do it for a decent price. Um, but, because, I could go overkill, right? This is a Holley 500 CFM 2 barrel. Like, I bought this. What was this? Either last year or the year before. I bought this carburetor. Um, so I have that one. Then I could also run this little Holly, which I believe is a 350 CFM. So, and then get another one of these 350 CFM Holly 2 barrels and run a 500 in the middle and 350s on the outside. Now, would that work? Probably not, to be honest. It'd be an absolute nightmare. But, like, to be honest, I don't know, though. Um, you know, like, I don't even know what that little Weber that I've got is, to be honest. Like, I have to look into that. Because, like, I do have, like I said, that Weber one barrel. It's in my shed somewhere. I have to find it. But, so yeah, like, there you go. I could be that one person, um, that be like, okay, I've got a tri-power intake, and I've got 3 separate carburetors. You know, let's run them all and see what happens. Yeah, no, that's a bad idea. Don't ever do that. You should have all your carbs as the same, and to be synced. To be honest, but it would be pretty funny. Like that would be really funny. Um, cause just imagine you see that, right? Like you see, oh, a one barrel on the front, as an example, the 500 in the middle, and then the 350 on the back. It'd be the weirdest fucking setup ever, and it wouldn't work worth for shit, to be honest. Because you'd have so much more air going into your center than the outside. Ah! Fuck, that's loud as shit. Sorry, got an ad on Spotify. That was terrible. Um, right? Exactly, see? Somebody knows. And what is a tri-power intake? So a tri-power intake is... So, consider, if you know anything about automobiles, and carburetors specifically. Um, although you can do this with throttle bodies as well. But a tri-power intake is having 3 separate carburetors on an intake rather than in just one. Oh. Say, Bear, come here, buddy. I got Kitty. But yeah, because actually I can show you that intake. Because I got pictures of it on this phone here. So let's see here. Scroll down a bit. There we go. So you can see on this head here, it has spots for 3 individual carburetors or 3 individual throttle bodies. You know, like, and this is, it's actually an interesting setup, to be honest, on here, because how they actually did this is not normal. So if you actually look closely at how they actually put this in, this is actually a removable piece, which is very interesting, honestly. Usually these are like welded in place, but instead they cut out that area and bolted this to the intake. Which is truly interesting. You know, and it's just pretty neat, though, to find what people will actually do with their setups, right? Like, and even, like, you can see, on the backside, again, like, it's removable. There. So, but then also it has a bunch of different vacuum ports on this engine too, or on this intake, which is kind of nice. They've got a vacuum port straight on for the middle carb spacer. They have a vacuum port on the intake itself, which is nice. And I do need those, but I think I would swap out um, this fitting here for a tree, to be honest. And what I mean by um, swapping out for a tree is having it so that you can put multiple vacuum sources to the intake, because this is ported and isn't ported down here. And it'd be kind of an interesting setup because I do actually need that uh, for my for the oil catch can. And then I also need it for my vacuum advance, and I need it for my power brakes. Beyond that, I don't need any other vacuum sources. So, so that's kind of what I'm thinking with it, honestly. Um, and just kind of my rough ideas that just pop into my head about this stuff. And honestly, thank you, Leo. Like, I really do appreciate that. It's one of these things. It can be difficult being a woman in the car hobby because there is a lot of crap that I go through just because I am a woman. Um, I get told all the time that I don't know what I'm talking about, that I should not be doing this and whatever else. And there's a lot of sexism in this space. There really is. But we march on and have fun with it. And that is the current project, yes. Also, somebody typing in some sort of like Cyrillic or something like that. I have no idea what you said, man. But I always go out there though and prove them wrong. I always show that I can do this, and like, yes, do I get help when I need it? Oh, absolutely. And when I actually get all the carbs that I want all set up and everything, we're gonna actually see. Okay, that's just water. Just making sure. On my cat's paw here, just soaked, and I just want to make sure. Um, like my buddy Roy Marcos is going to probably help me out with setting up the carburetors because you need to have them perfectly in sync, and he is the guy that I would go to for that because he is very knowledgeable on doing multiple carbs on a vehicle. So, and we'll see how that works out, honestly. Um, yeah, we'll see. So, I don't know. And then yeah, like with Stitch, would I ever do a big block swap on my truck? No. I have zero desire to really swap out that inline six, because why would I? Um, all I'd be doing is making the truck, in my mind, to be less usable. And the reason why I say that, the 300 inline six is a very like a decently economical engine and bulletproof. Like there's no big block on the planet that holds up to the strength of a 306. Um and that is just one of those things where like right now, as an example, I could jump in my truck, drive it down the highway, and nearly get 20 miles to the gallon out of it. It gets 19.5 miles per gallon. It's pretty damn good, honestly. I don't know if I'd actually need two barrels. Like, I think two barrels would be overkill, to be honest. But you never know. Because I have also thought about doing that as well. I just need to get the adapters for it, or get people to make me the adapters, however it works out. Um, and to run three Motorcraft 2100s that are 267 CFM apiece, which would put me at over, what would that be roughly? What, 770-ish CFM? Which I do wonder if that's actually too much. I just, and I probably think that that is actually too much CFM for that little 200. Um, Even with the extra, thing. See, and here's the thing. I don't want to run the stock Autolite 1100 carbs. I freaking hate those carburetors. I really do. That's why I want to run the Carter YFAs. Because they're just a much better carburetor. The Autolite 1100s, I am not a fan of. I have never really had good luck with them. I have always had issues with those carburetors. And overall, I just don't um you know, I just don't like them. Now, lots of people have good luck with them and they don't have problems, but they just haven't they don't drive them as much as I do, right? And where like the Carter YFA would be perfect, honestly. I think because it's a little bit more CFM than stock. Stock is 170 CFM. The YFA is 200 CFM, right? So it's not that big of a jump. Um, and I don't know. And no, I don't only like Ford. It's just I only have Fords. So there's that. Like I love old Mopars. I love AMCs. I love old Toyotas, Subarus, Mazdas. Like you name it. I like a lot of different shit to be honest. Um, but like I said, right now I have Fords. So that's what I play with. Yeah. So like, and I think that those YFAs should work good. I would just need to figure out the jetting of the carburetors to make sure that I'm not just running it way rich. But I do know, though, with the extra compression that this head is going to give me, because supposedly it's been shaved 50 thou, right? And depending, if that head is warped, I might need to shave it down even more than that to get the warp out. And that's why I need to get it checked out by a machine shop. I just can't afford to do that right now. Because most machine shops would charge me about $200 just to check out the head and make sure it's all copacetic and shit. So, um, I do have a buddy, but I need to like talk to him and actually ask him. It's like, hey, what would you charge me to do this? And to check out the head that I've got. I don't need you to build the head. I just want you to check it out, make sure it's all square, and make sure that the valve springs are good and all that different stuff. Um, and then, because also something else, and I need to measure the valves because that is a small log head, right? From 1965, or no, not 65. It's a 63 head, I believe it was. Or no. The rods were 63. The head was a 67, I believe. And then the block itself was a 65. Um and like we'll see. And I mean, and to be honest, I'm thinking in that zone because right now I don't have any power up high like that. So it'd be kind of neat to actually be able to get that power up high. And being able to extract just a little more power out of the car. Because again, like I said, I think this is going to gain me about 30 wheel horsepower. It's not a shit ton. But comparatively, but if you look at it percentage wise, that's a huge bump. Because I make a 100 wheel right now. So if I'm making an extra 30 wheel, and then an extra about 60 or 50 foot-pounds of torque on top of it, going from 220 torque to like 270, 280 would be absolutely incredible. But we'll see. We'll see. And would I ever buy a diesel? Technically, I did buy one. If you want to get really technical, I owned a diesel for 2 weeks. Um, but it was an absolute basket case, so I got rid of it. Now, I could buy it back, and I've thought about it, but I don't know if I want to actually commit to buying it back. The only reason why is it'd be a bit of a nightmare. So it is a 1984 Lincoln Mark 7 LSC with the factory turbo diesel, which is a BMW M21 diesel. However, that diesel um scared me because so apparently the guy I bought it off of, he blew a head gasket and that caused it like and he didn't want to fix it himself, so he sent it off to a machine shop and they either machined the head or put a brand new head on it. I do not know off the top of my head which one they did because there's a tag on the uh head. But the thing is, they ended up bolting the head down, not installing the valves, even though they lapped the valves, they didn't install the valves. And then um, they installed the cam and the timing belt, which is so bizarre to do that. And all I gotta do with you is just do that, so you can never comment on my channel ever again there, dude. So, but that thing was interesting because I couldn't get any of the electronics working until I opened the passenger door. So obviously something was grounding out in the passenger door to make that happen. And the full air suspension worked and everything in it. So I've thought about getting that thing back and playing around with that, but I don't know, we'll see. Uh I'd much rather just get a brand new cam at that point. But also, like, that motor that I tore apart supposedly has an aftermarket cam in it, but I actually don't know if it is or not. I can't get the freaking cam out of the motor, though, because the bearing tolerances are extremely tight. Like, and now I could try and put my slide hammer on it and just seeing if it'll come out, but I was thinking suspicion I'll wreck that cam coming out. Um, I I am thinking about though is going out there, drilling out the freeze plug on the back of the block where the cam is, and taking a look at the numbers at the back of the cam shaft to see if it actually is an aftermarket cam or not. And then I could figure out what specs the cam are. Because if it is actually an aftermarket cam, it would be worth actually pulling that and making that work. I kept the lifters. I kept the push rods. I have the adjustable rockers. So, you know, there is a lot of things that I've been able to pillage out of that motor. But if this head doesn't work out, all of that is basically trash to me, and Chris probably wouldn't get much out of me for any sort of money. Like, I'd give him whatever it scraps for, to be honest. So, and no worries there, Mark. And I appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. It's one of these things. I try and be as transparent and as open as possible to the automotive world on here because that's what we all should want, right? Like when you're talking to people and asking them questions, you want them to be upfront and honest. And that's the thing. Like, and And like, and going back to your diesel question, like I've always been fascinated by diesels because I love the fact that they're fully mechanical. Now, they do, don't get me wrong, they make diesels nowadays that have electronics in them, yes, but at its core, diesels are fully mechanical. They don't need a single computer to run at all. You don't need, like, what's kind of fun is with a mechanical diesel, you can actually set up a starter wire and just touch it to your battery and start up a diesel. Um, and without the key or anything, because you don't need it. Because again, it's fully mechanical. So it's kind of neat that way, and like, and a lot of older diesels are apocalypse proof because of that. And you can also convert diesels to run on basically anything. And depending on the diesel, they actually can run on anything flammable. Which I like the idea of that, you know? And that's why I like that Lincoln was such a fascinating prospect for me. But I was just looking at how much work it was going to require to try and fix it, and I just thought it wasn't worth it. But in, we'll see. If I have a little bit of money, I will potentially try and buy it back, and then send the motor off to a machine shop to make them check it over and make sure everything's copacetic for whatever work that other shop did, and then have them assemble it properly and go from there. So, and what's interesting too is so that Lincoln with the M21 BMW straight six diesel, which actually is, they did a very similar, the very similar thing that Oldsmobile did to the 350 to convert it to a diesel. They essentially took a gas motor, cut the deck height out of it by a decent margin to get the compression up, and then threw glow plugs down the spark plugs holes and called it a day. There's a little bit more to it than that they did, but for the most part, that's kind of how they created that diesel. And that's why the Oldsmobile 350 diesel is such a terrible, terrible diesel. Because it was never designed to be a diesel, right? And as a result, like, there is an Achilles heel as well to these diesels that don't have, that were designed as gas motors, because majority of gas motors only have 4 points of contact between the binding force of the bolts bolting it to the head, which 4 bolts is usually fine. But diesel, like for a gas motor, which, at most in a street driven application, you're going to see maybe 10.5 to 1 compression out of a gas motor, right? Well, these diesels are 17 to 1, 20 to 1, 25 to 1. Like, much higher compression, and that's actually how they ignite the fuel. So as a result, they can potentially blow head gaskets easier, as opposed to a lot of these more legendary diesels that have the 6 bolts per cylinder. This is true. Some could. Um, and that's why, like, as an example, like, the block heaters are so imperative to diesels because, again, they don't have spark plugs to ignite the fuel. They have to do it by compression. And with the older diesels, especially when they ran that, 15 weight oil, when it gets really cold, like -30, -40, that oil is not moving very quick in the engine, and that's why you hear that when you're trying to start it. It's not just because the battery is a little lower on juice because it's colder. It's also it having to work overtime and the starter try to work a little overtime because of that oil being essentially more of a solid. So yeah. Oh wait, and you tore your parts machining numbers D16 out of my Civic and was going to put pistons and rods. Already have the rods and pistons, but I think I'll have to lock machine to get it bored 1 millimeter. Interesting. So that's 1 millimeter. That's essentially just a hone job at that point. Um, but why do you think you have to do that? Like, is it just like scored cylinder walls or? Ah, okay. Well, and that's kind of the gamble, though. Is if you have a crack in the cylinder wall, of how much you actually have to bore that out to see if it's good. And unfortunately, because actually, is it D16? Is it an open deck block or a closed deck block? Because I can't remember if they're open or closed deck. Good old MCR. Gotta love it. Okay, they are open, so you can actually put sleeves in there then. If you needed to. Like you could overbore it and put sleeves in the cylinders, right? If you needed to. Perfect. So that's not so bad then. Like that's kind of the shitty part about the engines I play with is that they're closed deck, which granted, closed deck is stronger overall. But if you have a damaged cylinder wall, you're fucked. You can't redo that. Like if it's gouged too far and if you overbore it, you could destroy the block. So that's kind of the challenge. Um, and that's kind of like the fun thing about, like I said, open deck blocks, right? Um, but now that I trade mine to do an open deck design on my inline sixes, that closed deck is one of the reasons why they're so strong. To be fair. Oh, so is that like just a car you drive around, or is that potentially a donor? Because I mean, that's actually kind of a rarity, to be honest, to have a K series Accord with a stick. That's fun. Like hell yeah, man! I love that. You know, because that's the like people think that I don't like Japanese cars when that is the furthest thing from the truth. I love Japanese cars. I just like I just don't really play with them that much because usually those cars can be kind of expensive. Like as an example, yes, can you get like super cheap Hondas and stuff like that? You can. But a lot of the desirable Hondas, the kind of cool stuff, people want an arm and a leg for. Like, try and find a clean CRX. You know, like that's gonna be pricey. Um, and like I kick myself that I wasn't able to afford it. My buddy was actually bidding on it, and I was gonna try and buy it off of him or do a trade with him because I could have had a CRX potentially. This was just a plain Jane CRX. It wasn't an SI or anything like that, but it had a roll cage in it. It was black and it had a yellow roll cage. That thing was so damn cool. And because actually, I did. That was actually one of my auction videos. Let's see if I can find that same car because me and my buddy Keith were actually checking this thing out, and it was pretty damn cool. Ah, okay, that is valid. Like, and the thing is, the D series honestly is such a fantastic motor. Like, if you're not trying to push a bunch of power to it, it's one of the best engines ever made. Like, genuinely. Okay, let's see. Go view my channel. Um, I will try and find that actually really quick. So auction walkarounds. Here we go. Let's see. There it is. Now, and something is right here. Oh, it's not. Actually, it was right on it too. So here we go. Check this thing out. Okay, or you got a roll bar in it. Yeah, it's automatically. So like, I wish I would have been able to pick this thing up. CRX. Now, what's cool about it had a D series in it, I think. Because a CRX is basically and it was a stick shift. That they take the rear seat out, and it's just a two-seater, right? This one has. And I want to say those are like Integra seats or something like that, but I don't know. 92,000 kilometers on it. I don't like the GT Grand steering wheel though. Not a fan of that, but it's just super super cool. But what's interesting about like, isn't it? And this one went for like really cheap. It was not really rusty or anything like that. And like, and you can see this cage, right? Solid and okay, it's a bolt-in roll bar. And it was just a bolt-in cage. It wasn't welded. But somebody had plans for this thing. So like, and seeing that, that's like a very usable roll cage, right? So that's all right to see. This could be a steal. And then you can see under the hood, like, I think this is a little D series, yeah, I think. Four banger. Okay, so it's got. But like, had you know the MSD or sorry, Acel wires, so correction. Look at the big old super. And then look at that big ass coil. Yeah, that's like 85,000 volts. And it was just so cool, honestly. This thing. Yeah, so this is the and it was in such good shape. Early CRX. And I think it only sold for like $1,400 too. And it is carbureted, yeah. Like, this was an early one. This was like 84, I want to say. Oh, okay. Yeah. I can't recall. This was a couple years ago, so you'll have to forgive me if I forget a lot of the details on this car, because, like I said, this was a while ago. Like, I didn't need a windshield, right? So, you know, but I've always wanted a CRX. I always have found these cars to be so cool. All the aftermarket gauges down there, like some. The thing is, this wasn't just some. And thanks, Leo. Yes, you know, I should have a good day, hopefully. You as well, man. And you met a guy that races on dirt track in a 73 Pinto with a four-cylinder? Nice, probably a 2.3. This is something that I would drive. 100%. This thing is really, really cool. And again, just something you don't see. Now, speaking of something that you don't see... There we go. So, yeah, but that was just a really, really, really cool car. And like I said, I kick myself because I couldn't get it. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Sorry, I was just reading an email. Um but and apparently it was just a blanket email to all their users about misconduct, apparently, not that I was actually had any misconduct. So that was confusing about it, but that's good. Oh yeah, like, but the thing is, I don't want an Insight. Like, give me a CRX, and I don't need an SI. Like, just give me a D series CRX just like that one, with a stick shift, and let me get 50 miles to the gallon out of it driving it around, and then also using it as like a track car. Cause hell to the yes. Like it's so lightweight. They handle extremely well. Like that thing would have been incredible. And as you can see from the roll cage, it was actually a very usable back area in that car still. Like nothing that is too out of the ordinary there, right? It didn't even have a cross brace, which I would have put a cross brace in there just so that I can have a 5-point harness. Beyond that, like it's just like a harness bar. And it's just sad that, like Honda dropped the ball on the CRX successor. Because I'm sure you remember, Honda had the CRZ, which was like 2007 ish. And they were a hybrid only. I'm like, why Honda did that? I will never understand. Because that design would have been so perfect for a little K series with a 6-speed manual, making about 200 horsepower, and the thing would have been an absolute fucking rocket ship. But instead, they make this very uninspired hybrid system with it, and it's not sporty at all. It was actually terrible. Now, people have ripped out the hybrid assemblies in those cars and converted them to like B and K series, and they're actually pretty good. Um, and like I look at them every once in a while because they do pop up every once in a blue moon. They're pretty rare nowadays to find, but you know, it's just yeah, it's one of these deals of Honda. It's kind of weird. Like they're usually pretty good. They're usually really good. But sometimes they just do a piss poor job of doing some of the stuff. Like as an example, the new Prelude. Like you look at that thing and it's just like it kind of looks like a Prelude, but not really. Like it was such a weird thing. But apparently they've actually been selling pretty well, so I give them props for that. But um, you know, it just the Prelude used to just be such a cool car. And although I did find it interesting that, in the 80s, with the second gen Prelude, you could essentially get the same thing, granted not with the same options, but almost identical vehicle, and getting a two-door Accord. Because it used the same engine, it used the same transmission, it had the same suspension, and it had a relatively similar interior. Like, it was such a weird thing for Honda to do that, and even to offer a two-door Accord. Very strange. But I'd love to find a two-door Accord someday. It'd be kind of cool. But again, that's one of those weird ones one of those weird decisions that Honda made. I mean, a a Crown Vic with a Coyote would have been so freaking sweet. Um, I understand them wanting to get away from that platform because also it wasn't meeting like safety regulations anymore. I think that's one of the reasons why they got rid of it. Um, and but yet it would have been kind of cool if they continued the Vicky. Well, even hell, if they had ditched the 462 valve, which is a great motor, don't get me wrong, fantastic. But even if they did the 3.5 EcoBoost, Like a 3.5 EcoBoost in a Vicky. Oh, give me that 350 horsepower twin turbo rear wheel drive four door sedan. Fucking A, let's go. Like, hell yeah. And oh, I absolutely love the bigger Fords. Fun fact, one of my dream cars is actually a 1968 Ford Fairlane Torino Fastback. I want one so fucking bad. Now, to be fair, it doesn't have to be a Fairlane Torino. It could just be a Fairlane or a Torino, but I want a fastback. Like 100%. Oh, you're not wrong. Like, and I think that's the reason why that Ford never did the 3.5 EcoBoost in the Mustang. Because they probably knew that, oh, this would demolish a Coyote if they had done that. Just because that motor was so much lighter than the Coyote, and it made 350 horsepower already out of the box. And it's not that hard to turn those things up, just like a Coyote. Um, and you already have turbos out of the factory, so you don't have to, get a turbo kit or anything. You can just get bigger turbos and bolt them right on, and then give it an ECU tune and send it and make 550, 600 horsepower, no problem. And you only spent about 1,500 bucks to do it. Like, but Ford just didn't want to do that, right? Which I don't blame them because they have this shiny Coyote and they don't want to get have it outshined by a V6. Which Ford made that mistake in the 80s. Ford had their best, like they had their absolute best performing vehicle be a turbo four banger for a number of years. Like the early carbed 2.3 turbos were faster than the 302s or the 255s. Um, and then when they went to the SVO, that was faster than any GT. Right up until about 1990 or so, when they finally did the mass airflow on the 5 liter. Like, and that's when it finally outperformed the SVO. So here's the thing: 6 liter Power Stroke, one of the worst diesels ever created, stock. You do a full emissions delete on that thing, like do the EGR delete, and you head stud it and all that stuff. It's actually a half reasonable engine. But the problem that they have is that they're still more prone to blowing head gaskets than your average diesel, because this goes on to the discussion that I was having earlier. Um, with the how many bolts you have to hold down the head to the block surface, right? Is the 6 liter Power Stroke out of the box only has 4 bolts per cylinder. And so as a result, that clamping force is not as sufficient as it should be to make sure it doesn't blow a head gasket, right? So that's the one thing about those 6 liter Power Strokes that's not the best design. However, they can be pretty good, and as long as you're not sending them to the absolute moon, they can be all right. Yeah, like 750 horsepower is a lot, but that's not like it's a lot of power for a diesel. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like, oh, it's 1,000, it's 1,200 horsepower, that sort of thing, right? So, you want to know why Spank? Because nobody wants a 6 cylinder muscle car. Like it's just it is so off brand for Dodge that way. And there's a reason why that they haven't sold worth for shit, right? Um, Plus, also the one thing I hate about the Hurricane 6 is so you can't just swap out the turbo easily on one of those. The turbo housing is cast into the exhaust manifold. So you actually have to swap out the entire exhaust manifold if you want to put a different turbo on it. It's kind of freaking stupid. But beyond that, I've actually heard it's a good design. Um, but I don't know, like, I haven't had any experience with them, and I don't know anybody that's played with them at all. But yeah, it's just one of those deals, right? Live your life somewhere alone, say goodbye. So many questions and I don't ask why. Live your life, talk on and say goodbye. See, I can't sing this. There are certain Avril Lavigne songs I can sing. This is not one of them. I shouldn't even try. I love the song though. Um, and yeah, so I don't know. Like the Hurricane 6 is like an interesting idea, but if any other company came out with it, it'd be a smash hit. Like genuinely, if Ford came out with that design, it'd be a smash hit. If Mazda did, if Mitsubishi did, if any other company other than Dodge came out with a Hurricane design, it would sell like hotcakes. But the reason being is that it's Dodge. And the problem that we know with like Dodge and Chrysler is, well, a Dodge Charger is supposed to be a V8 muscle car. Their trucks are supposed to have V8s in them unless if it's a diesel, right? And that's kind of the mentality that we have, unfortunately. Um, so it's one of those deals where it was just a terrible idea for Dodge to do. Even though it's a great architecture and great design overall. But yeah, that's one of those ones that it's in that boat, unfortunately, of that engine, and it's sad. Well, see, I can tell you right now, the ZF 8 speed is a terrible transmission. They are absolutely awful. And the thing is, because under stock Hellcat power, they'll blow up. Um, I have seen stock Hellcats blow up on my dyno, like the transmissions, because again, they're just trash, honestly. Um, like that ZF 8 speed, great transmission if it's under a Pentastar or a regular Hemi, but making 700-800 horsepower, it's not designed for that. It's just not. Um, and also, fun fact: did you know that the Hellcat and the Demon are not electronically limited? Um, the only reason how I know that is because we had a Hellcat Charger on the dyno a couple of years ago, and it blew the transmission after it went 269 miles per hour. Pretty insane. And thoughts on the 429 or a 460? Here's the thing. The 429 460 is your best bang for your buck when it comes to a cheap big block to build. More so the 460, but the 429 is in the same family. Because that's your 385 series Fords. And the thing is, they are so tough, and the parts for them are so cheap that you can build an absolute monster of a big block for not a ton of money. Like, you can go grab any 460 out of any emissions era vehicle, like that's low compression, right? You know, grab one out of a Lincoln Mark V, grab one out of any full size Ford from the 70s, grab it from any full size Ford pickup that's like an F 250. Uh, take that, take the stock timing chain out, put a 429 timing chain in it, bump the timing up by go from -4 degrees to 20 degrees initial, and then bam, you just made with only spending about 120 bucks. Um, like you could make about 350 to 400 horsepower. That's what stock heads still. Now, you swap out those stock heads in favor of 429 heads or early 460 heads, and you'll make 10 and a half, 11 to 1 compression, and that thing will be making 600 horsepower and like 700 to 800 foot-pounds of torque. Like, that's of course with like a 4 barrel intake and carb and shit like that as well. But like, it's such a amazing engine that you can build out. They really are. And here's the thing, Dodge, that has been rumored that Dodge is trying to make a Miata competitor for like the past 25 years. They're not gonna do it. They won't. Um, I already know that. It's not in their MO, and I don't think it would sell. Genuinely. And I think they know that too. Um, because they had their little concept car 25 years ago, right? Of this little, it was actually powered by the SRT4 motor, right, from the Neon. And it was going to be about the size of a Miata and like a Roadster, and it was going to cost about 30 grand. This was 25 years ago. And bear in mind, you can't really find $30,000 Miatas anymore. Um, if Dodge builds it, which they won't, but if they do, that will be a $60,000 car. Like, I'll call it right now. You know, like just about guaranteed they will sell for that sort of price. Uh, to be honest, no. Fox bodies are not rare. Anybody that tells you a Fox body Mustang is rare has never actually tried to find one. Because Fox bodies are everywhere. You can find them for cheap. You can find them for cheap in the States too. Like, I already know this because I have people that derby them in the States. Um, and like, people that think Fox bodies are expensive are only looking at Barrett Jackson and Mecum listings. They're not actually looking at what actually sells in the market. Fun fact, did you know, other than my 86 convertible, um, I have never spent more than $600 on a Fox body. Any of them. I bought my Lincoln for 350 bucks. I bought Buzz for $300. I bought Hail Mary for $400. I got the Poltermerk for $600. Like, they are not expensive. They're just not. Now, you want a really desirable Fox body? Yes, they are expensive. Like, you get a Calypso Green 5-liter 5-speed notchback. That is a very desirable and expensive car. you get any like clean arrow notchback. They're an expensive car. But the four eyes don't have that value. They just don't. Um like and I bet you actually could find them. You just need to know where to look. Because most of that stuff you're gonna find, uh like you'll find the odd thing on Marketplace, but for the most part, word of mouth. You'd be really surprised at what you can find for cheap. Genuinely. And but it also, like I said, it depends on the Fox body. If you're looking for the most desirable combination, don't. That's going to be expensive. Go find yourself a little hatchback Fox body with a 2.3 or even like a 255 in it, like an early one, and spend less than $1,000 for a little bit of a beater that you can go shove an LS or a big 302 with a turbo on it or whatever you want to do with it. You know, see, people think that, but that's what people ask for. They never actually realize that number. They don't. And unless if it's an arrow that's a notchback, they don't realize those numbers. I promise you that. Um, because like I said, go search for the early Fox bodies. Don't go for the most desirable ones. Those are the expensive ones. Yes, because even those are expensive up here. Like I said, go find early non-desirable cars. Find the 2.3s. Find the 255 V8 ones. Find the inline six ones. You know, like especially if, as an example, you're building a drag car, the inline six ones are the best to buy because they're the least desirable. The reason being is the K member, you have to swap it out to put a 5 liter or anything like that into it. But if you're already making a drag car, you're probably doing a tubular K member anyways. So you can just get rid of that and it's fine. And but they're not. Early to mid 80s Fox bodies are not rare. I don't care what anybody says. They are not rare. I have seen so many. I have passed on so many. I get them offered to me all the time. I also see them in the States for cheap. I have buddies that buy them all the time for cheap. You know, and it's not just in like northern states. I've seen them in the southern states. I've seen them in California. I've seen them in Ohio. I've seen them in, Montana. Again, they're not expensive. Like, the thing is, they're really not. Like I said, go for a 79 to 82. That is your best bet. You might have to look a little bit, but you will find them. See, like, I find deals all the time. Like, even right now, I think it might still be on Marketplace. Let's see. Actually, let's go saved. Marketplace. Let's see. See if I can find it. Because and this card's been for sale forever. There it is. So this is a 1980 hatchback Mustang. It's been for sale for months. This car right here. This car doesn't really look that rusty. It's a bit of a beater. Yes. Don't get me wrong. But it looks to be in fairly decent shape. Now, who knows? It might be a Bondo magnet. It's hard to say. And it looks like it had a rattle can job for the black. But it doesn't look that bad, right? This is a straight six car, just like mine. It's got 160,000 kilometers on it, which is 100,000 miles. It has the brakes have been redone. It's got a new battery, new tires, and he says a few other things. It was running when I parked it a few weeks ago, but not very well. And he says it doesn't idle, and now the battery is dead. It was $1,000. He's down to $600. And this thing, like I said, has been for sale for months. So that's why when people say that, oh no, they're rare, they're expensive. No, they're not. People just don't want to get the undesirable ones. They just don't. Nobody wants a 7982, right? But if you can get over some of the flaws of the early ones, they're fantastic. Like, because some of the early rubbers can actually warp and whatever else, especially like on the 79s. Also, 79 and 80 cars have specific doors to each year. Now, you can swap them from other ones, but your door panels won't match. Like, oh, trust me, I could get a 5 liter with an AOD shoved in that thing for not a lot of money. Like, it's one of those things. And now, am I going to do that? No. Like, this is a car that if I actually sold my truck, this would be something that I'd pick up. I would make it run better and then flip it. This car would be the perfect candidate for it, honestly. Because, like, and it doesn't idle. Yeah, that's Autolite 1100s for you. They're just a shitty fucking carburetor. Um, Swap out that carburetor, and that thing will be brilliant. You can go spend like $80 on Amazon and go get the cheapy YFA carb, and it'll be fine. See, now that is sad that somebody let one of those just sit for that long. So, being that it's a 5 liter, wow. Now you want to see a unusual? Okay, this is not going to be carbureted. This is going to have the CFI on it. Some guy on Marketplace, he'll never get rid of this. To be honest, unless he gives it away, because nobody's going to want this. So, this is a 1986 3.8 V6 engine for sale. The guy wants $500 for it with a C5 automatic. The problem is this has the CFI on it, and that CFI system is fucking terrible. You know, like so that's just one of those things. Because like I said, when people think Fox bodies are expensive, they're not. They're really not. Like I don't care what anybody says, they're not. You just gotta find the right ones. And sometimes you have to wait a little bit. But also, like people say, oh, Fox body Mustangs are rare. They're not. They made 2.8 million Fox body Mustangs. I know where a horde of Fox body Mustangs are. Like my buddy has them. Um, I know so many people with Fox bodies because they're everywhere. Like now, and the rare Fox bodies being like the Lincoln Mark Sevens and the Cougars and the Fairmonts nowadays and the Capris. Nobody cares about. Everybody just wants a Mustang. Which even though the Capri looks way better than a Mustang ever will, like I don't care what anybody says, they are just beautiful. Open your eyes. then the fun part is up here is like you can find like the Fox bodies. They might have a rusty body, but like their interiors are usually fairly clean. Like as an example, actually, I'll show you because I don't know if you remember the Poltermerc on my channel. That thing had such a mint interior. It was beautiful, honestly. Um, let's see if I can find the Poltermerc videos. Playlists. Let's see, Hail Mary, not Buzz. Poltermerc. So here we go. This, now again, it had a lot of problems with this car, don't get me wrong. Like, we needed to do the brakes on this car, needed to give it a good tune-up, because it ran like shit, and we needed to do the entirety of the braking system on this car. But this was $600. Also, ended up throwing a transmission in this car, too. And this is a Capri. But it was a fairly rusty car, though, don't get me wrong. Like, the hood was pretty rusty. The roof was rusty. You know, it had a lot of rust in it, but this is a straight 6 car, as you can tell. And, like, and you can look, the one selling feature on this car was the interior was so clean. Like, this was such a well taken care of car inside. It was just outside. It was just beating the shit. Shitboxing. So this is what I was driving it with. It didn't come with any keys, by the way. Good. That was kind of fun. Very impressed with it. But yeah, so it's just one of those things. Like I said, I find these beater Fox bodies all the time. I can also show you the I mean, if you remember Hail Mary, like, I don't know if you remember Hail Mary, but I owned her not terribly long ago in the grand scheme of things. But Hail Mary was a $400 Fox body that I picked up. Like, the only problem with this car is that it was hailed out and the interior was a little bit, tore up. Now, we also have to replace the transmission on this thing, and we did the rear wheel cylinders. That's it. Like, when I tell people this was the nicest car I ever bought for about the cheapest price I've ever paid for a Fox body, I'm not kidding. It was such a nice car. So, like I said, that's why when people say Fox bodies are expensive. No, they're not. Although that thing shouldn't have been as cheap as it was, to be fair. That was a very, very smoking deal. And I was him and hawing about it, too. That was the funny part. But even, like, when my buddy sold it at auction, he got $1,400 for it at auction. And that's for a fully sorted Fox body. But, like, the problem is, with that car, is that how little of power it made. Because it was a tired old inline 6, to be honest. That motor, it would have been great for a refresh. And, like, on that inline 6. I also intended on ripping that motor out and putting it in Stitch. Um, at some point. And but the reason why that I wanted to do that is because that 82 inline 6 had the low mount starter bell housing on it, which is a 302 bell housing pattern. So, as an example, you want to put an AOD behind it? Fairly easy to do. You want to put a T5 behind it? Fairly easy to do. You want to do something like a T56, which is what I want to do with Stitch? That's the block you want. And I still want to do a 256 under Stitch. Because I actually can't remember how much power, how little of power did it actually make? Fuck, it was such a windy day too. Like, here we go. Because I do not remember how much power it actually did make on the dyno. But also, I put this set of wheels and tires on it too. Like, and these 10 holes, like, I only had maybe 800 bucks into this car total. I swapped the transmission for the stock transmission out of Stitch because I wasn't using that C4 anymore. Well, the verdict is in. And my foot. Oh, that's right. My footage did screw up. But how much did it end up making? And, 3 horse at half pole, and then 66. It made 95 foot-pounds of torque. And it made. Actually, hang on. And she only made 67 horsepower. Well, that's just terrible. Honestly, for one of those. They should make, with the specs of that one, should have made about 92 to 95 horsepower to the wheels. Should have. But it didn't. I mean, that's interesting to actually play with a 283. Most people ditch those in favor of a 327 or a 350, but I get wanting to rev it a little higher though. But I mean, you could also make like a 302 and do that too. Because you know how to make a 302, right? Take a 327 and put a 283 crank in it. That gets you 302. And that's a rev happy motor. Uh, you can't do much with the intake because again, it's cast in, right? So there's only so much you can really do with the intake, without just chopping it off and making something yourself, or just swapping it outright. So, um, but I mean, you can put bigger valves in it, sure. Like the interesting thing is, so I have to look this up really quick, actually. Um, Just hang on. I need to look this up really quick. Valve size difference between because I want to get my information right on here because I just forget. Small log 200 and large log 200. There we go. Let's see. Let's see. This is what I was looking for. So you just want to make it like an ultimate drag that won't even do a quarter mile. That's what you're wanting. Yeah, like the early heads have smaller valves and smaller combustion chamber. Newer heads are normally milled to increase compression. Newer head came flat log or hex log. Flat log is most desirable. Like it's interesting. I actually have the most desirable American head on, for these. But like I said, what I wanted to find out is the valve size. Fuck, can it just tell me what size the fucking valves are? Because I don't like the port size is different too. But no. Actually, so newer aftermarket head, it's about a 3-year wait. It's an aluminum head that is essentially a copy of the Australian two barrel heads. And they're like $3,000. It's not cheaper, man. Um, there you go, valve size. That's what I'm looking for. Let's see. They showed the early 200 have the same chamber volume of 52 cc's. Um, but I want to find the. Let's see. Let's see. Fuck. None of these sites are telling me. It's pissing me off, actually. Yeah, there's no such thing as a Timu head for it. That's the only head that you can buy that is a brand new. Now, you can go cheaper than that. You can get an Aussie 250 head with a removable intake. That is about $800. If you find yourself an Argentinian or Brazilian head, they're also about that money too. You can alternatively get an entire crossflow engine from Australia. Um, and they're not a lot of money. They're like $800 for the entire motor. Those are kind of your options, to be honest. There we go. That's what I want. Yeah, because I just want to look into this. The best solution is a C-code, a late model large log cylinder head. Yep. Yeah, see, I'm just looking into this. Again, it was an aftermarket. Like I said, the Crossflow Australian engine was a full-on production engine. Now, those heads do not bolt onto American blocks. You have to modify both the head and bolt onto each other. Okay, here we go. All cylinder heads produced between 63 and 68 had approximately 52 cc combustion chambers, while the cylinder heads produced from 69 onward had approximately 62 cc combustion chambers. Let's see here. See, and again, what I want to know is the valve size. Here we go. Okay, so the 65 to 72s had a 1.649 intake with a 1.380 exhaust, while the intake on my 81, because all the exhausts are the same, but the intake is 1.750 on the large block heads. And now it's interesting because the log CC is a lot more, but this one's been modified, and I don't know if it's been ported and shit like that. I haven't really looked at it properly. Yeah, because that's the one thing I wanted to know with this. Because this website tells you a lot of stuff, to be honest. I know, yeah. Australia played around with that Ford Falcon 6 for years. Like, and it eventually morphed into the Barra. You know, like, the Barra is still the same basic architecture, but it is overhead cam. So there is a lot of differences, of course. But it's not as different as you would think it would be between the two engines. See, this is the one thing I'd want to find. I'd want to find a machine shop with a flow bench that can show me what my head will actually flow with that tri-power setup on it. And also, I want to see if the valves have actually been changed out in mine or not in that head, because I don't know if they're stock or not. I haven't a clue. Hey, no worries, Mark. Have a good sleep. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you hanging out for a bit and chatting, and I wish you well. Yeah, because, like, so there's this flow chart that they're showing me here, right? Where, so the stock small log, which again, mine's been modified, so, is the worst. A ported small log is actually worse than a stock large log. But then like a ported large log like is even better, right? By miles on the intake side for cylinder head flow. Um, and then you can actually see, so the stock Aussie 250 is even higher. The ported Aussie 250 is even higher. The stock aluminum ones, which is a that aftermarket one I was telling you about, versus the ported one, is the best. Now this doesn't consider Brazilian or Argentinian heads though, but and like the exhaust side, it's relatively the same. Other than if you have a ported one, it's a little higher. And oddly enough, a ported large log actually has better exhaust than a ported Aussie 250. That's interesting. But, and like in the stock aluminum was like way higher, and same as the ported aluminum. So the thing I'd have to find out is looking into, like I said, the flow rate. Because I do wonder if that tri-power intake is even worth me running at the same time. Because of the flow rates and whatever else like that. Although it has been, supposedly the head has been shaved 50 thou, which would increase compression by a little bit. So, for reference, with the modern head gaskets designs, like the composites or whatever else, they are usually about 0.5, 0.05 or whatever, right, for thickness. So when you do 25 thou, that keeps your compression ratio that you would have had with the steel ship. With the increased so with 50 thou, it would bump up the compression ratio by about 0.3, 0.4, something like that. Yeah. Well, that's why, like I said, the Carter YFAs I think would be the best. But like I said, I'd have to actually look into it to see if it's actually worth it, or would it be worth it to take all of the um tri-power setup, get my head modified so that that will go onto my head. You know, it might be worth it to do that instead. That way I have the large log and I have the tricarbs at the same time. And then I can shave it down and just make it the ultimate head. So, I don't know. We'll see. And to be honest, Abara, I think will physically bolt into my car, but it does have a taller deck height. The Bara has like I think it's a 6-inch taller deck height than a 200 does. Let's see. Okay, so it is 8.31 inches or 211.1 millimeters. Uh, they do have, for fuck's sakes. Okay, I can't get the actual deck height on it, but yeah. Yeah, oh, I know. Actually, that was, not Dylan McCool. Who the hell was that? I remember seeing that video, but it was actually on a 302, not a 289. Thunderhead 289, that's what it was. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And honestly, like, it was the most hilarious thing when he did that because he posted it initially as a joke, right? In a group, like he made some CAD designs for this. And it's like lawnmower car, and he that ended up saying, screw it, let's just do it. So he did end up doing it to prove them all wrong that it would actually work. And it did. And it went extremely viral. Oh, it's kind of cool that I could do that. I didn't realize I could. Um, but yeah, and also, if y'all don't know, and if you haven't seen it yet, I haven't even said this in the entirety of the stream. It's been almost 2 hours. Um, but I do have a merch store. In case you didn't know. And I can actually get the link to it if you guys want. Although, actually, if you look, it might actually be on the stream right now. I'm not sure. Um, but yeah, and I'm not doing that. No, I have zero desire to try and do that. Sure, could it go viral? But like the amount of engineering he had to do to make that work was insane. It really was. So yeah, I'd rather just use my Carter YFAs and call it a day. I just need to find one. Well, I need to find two more technically. And then also something that I need to actually would have to do is I gotta bore out the carb opening spaces because they're only 1.5 inches. The Carter YFA is use a 1.75 inch opening. And again, Spec, I'm not doing that. Because also, he had to create a variable vacuum leak to tune the carburetor. I am not even attempting that. Like, what he did with that was insane. And actually, that's what he did to create the carb cheater, which is a really cool system, honestly. Um, and I would potentially actually see if I could get three carb cheaters and run three carb cheaters on my engine. You know, get the most efficient that I could get it. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But one thing is though, is my phone is dying. It is also almost 2 a.m. So I think I am gonna end the live stream here though, because like I said, we've been going for almost 2 hours here. So I appreciate everybody hopping into the live. It was such a fun time. Stay tuned for more content, and yeah, check out my merch store if you haven't already, because there's some cool designs on there. And if you purchase some stuff, it helps me out actually a decent bit. And what's funny is that I don't actually own any of my own merch designs yet, so that's something that I have to work on to actually get done. I just need some money. So, anyways, take care, everybody, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.